Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings. Well, if you tuned into last week's show, then you will know this is a two-part series with Dr. Pamela Dickson, a retired radiologist who was a teaching fellow at the Jackson Memorial Hospital, Public Health Hospital, and who has moved from, in her retirement, from more mainstream medicine to Chinese medicine, and is now practicing acupuncture and a perennial student of Qi, of all the energy channels in our body, and how to make the best use of them, how to be aware of them. And I will say that in hearing what you said in last week's show, Dr. Pamela, I am very impressed with how we are such miracles of creation, how we are energy, and how we connect to energy, and just to really honor and applaud that aspect of being energy ourselves, not just being energetic, but being energy ourselves.
Absolutely. It is really a beautiful thing. And did you want me to summarize a little bit about what we talked about last week?
You would. Yes, please.
Yeah, I love how you put that. It's a great way, not just that we have energy, but that we are energy, and that's what we're talking about with the Qi, and there's other terms for it, but that's the best one for now, is just this idea of the really an unseen energy flowing through us. There have been some measurements in scientific experiments, but this is an ancient practice of Chinese medicine. But what we talked about last week was really just trying to get an overview of how, the organism, or how we are in our relationship with the world and with ourselves. And so this structure of the 8 extraordinary vessels, which are the deepest ocean vessels of the body, deeper than the meridians, which we always hear about in Chinese medicine. These are the deepest. There's 8 of them. And we talked about how we're interacting with the world and with ourselves. So we spoke about that when we interact with the world, the first thing is our outer gate, or our protective element, the Yinwei, that can be, how are we interacting with the world? What are we allowing in? How are we protecting ourselves? How are we creating context? And then we spoke about the Dai. How do we express ourselves into the world, or not express ourselves? Are there any issues with that? The second gate is the Yinwei, the inner gate. And that is how we assess or evaluate what we have let in through the Yinwei. What has come in? What voices? What influences? What art? What inspirations? Maybe some negative influences have we let in? Maybe we're watching too much news or reading too much Facebook. How much are we letting in? And this is where we evaluate and assess: is this valuable to me? Should I keep this, or discard this, discharge this, or this is valuable to me? I'm going to store this down into my Chang, into either the Yin Chang or the Yang Chang. We call that the Ren and the Du. So these are the 4 basic
Yang energy. That's what the average person has heard about, the meridians.
Yes.
And Yang energy, which I had thought of as the Yang being the masculine, the Yin being the feminine. And it's, as you say, it's our relationship. How do we impact the world? How does the world impact us? What is our inner regulation around this? I know I'm really, really simplifying it.
No, but this is it. This is it, Duffy. That's exactly it.
Okay. Yeah, because it's always this dance, right, between how we impact the world and how the world impacts us. And most people know very well how the world impacts them, or shall I say, much better than their awareness of how they impact the world.
Yes, that's very true.
And wouldn't it be wonderful if we had that sense of empathy, not overdoing it, and to what we call an empath, someone who takes in the world way, way too much and understands people's sensitivities to the point where they are totally overwhelmed by them. But to be aware of how we impact our world, to endeavor to impact our world in the most constructive, loving, positive way.
Yes, as opposed to running on what Dan likes to call calcified beliefs and calcified beliefs that, sorry, Duffy, go ahead.
Great term,
calcified beliefs that and that's the stuff that gets stuck down there in the Du and the Ren or in the Chong. It's stuck down there. And so we operate out of that. We do out of that. We might express out of that. And, that's one of the, what's valuable about this is to start, like we spoke in the last session, to pause during the day, to take your temperature check, how am I doing? Oh, I just yelled at my daughter, and then just pause and breathe into that. And then bring that up for value making, assess, in the Yinwei, evaluate that, This is how the tiny change, by paying attention, right? And returning to our center and breathing into any disturbance. This is how we learn and bring up those calcified thoughts and beliefs that can be reviewed and changed.
So, not to interrupt, but to interrupt, you used the expression value making, and then right after that you said evaluate. And I never thought of evaluating as value making. But that is essentially what we are doing when we evaluate.
Yes, absolutely.
And at what has value for us, what doesn't. And then sometimes things have value for us that they don't have for the next person or even an intimate that we're living with. And that's a whole piece, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Taking, that's again, taking the temperature, not just of yourself perhaps, but your intimates, how did, what I just said and did, how did that have impact on my intimate, in my relationship,
Yeah. What's the impact? And to what extent do I, as you talked about in the last show, overexpress, underexpress, overdo, underdo? It seems to me that it's a constant calibration, is it not?
Yes, I think that Dan likes to use the word cultivate, as we cultivate this practice of pausing, breathing, taking our temperature, returning to our center, and then, evaluating, assessing. As we cultivate this, and you could cultivate each of the vessels. You could take a week and cultivate your Yinwei. How am I creating structure and context? Next week, we cultivate the Dai. How am I expressing myself in the world? These are there's many different cultivation practices. You develop a relationship with these vessels.
These vessels being oceans of chi, of energy, as opposed to meridians, which are rivers.
That's right.
Energy. Right. So just to double check, you had said that the meridians are unidirectional. They go up and down, and the oceans of energy are deeper, and they go throughout.
They kind of ebb and flow.
Okay.
the lung meridian, for example, just goes down. It starts up in the upper areas and then flows in a downward fashion of qi in the meridians. And then let's say the kidney flows upwards. They have one direction. Each meridian has one direction. Oh. See, and the extraordinary vessels are more like oceans. They ebb and flow.
So the lungs and the kidneys flow up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into that because that will be really,
fascinating. Who knew?
But I would say, when we put names on these vessels, these are processes. When we talk about protection and structure, context making, Yinwei, we all know what these things mean in everyday life. We do them all the time. When we talk about the die expression, too much expression, not enough expression. But it's just learning that this is a total system and learning that these are the main organism, the main functions of an organism. Even a little worm has these same functions. Protection, expression. Should I, about assessing? Do I discharge this or do I store this? In terms of food, discharge, and then accessing your energies, from the storage. So these are overall energies of all life forces on the planet, really. So the idea being in developing a relationship is through a cultivation practice by becoming aware of them. And the best cultivation practice to start off with is that idea of pausing and taking your temperature and, maybe even using these clue words, how am I feeling? Oh, I'm ruminating. I'm thinking about this thing that this one person said over and over and over again. Okay, I'm kind of stuck in that Yinwei region, or maybe that's an old pattern that was from my family upbringing. So that's maybe that's a calcified belief thought pattern that reoccurs over and over and over again. By breathing into it and cultivating, a practice with that. Dan calls it riding the dragon.
Riding the dragon.
Yeah, riding the dragon is a metaphor for, the dragon is when you pause and say, okay, what's going on with me? It's like a dragon energy, it's forceful sometimes, right? It's very forceful. So sometimes we get on the head of the dragon. We want to steer it. No, I don't want to feel that. I want to feel this. Or
right.
Let me steer that dragon. But that doesn't usually get us very far. Or we're riding the tail of the dragon. We're clinging to the tail and getting whipped around by the forces of all the emotions, and whatever. As opposed to riding the dragon where you sit on the body of the dragon and you take that ride, you breathe into it and let it show you what it's showing you, that's a cultivation practice also.
Beautiful. Now, should everybody get acupuncture, Dr. Pamela? I know you have entered the field of acupuncture, and it sounds like the kind of thing that I would love to do all the time. Go to an
That's a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yes, I think that the thing about acupuncture, of course, like I'm specifically talking myself about the extraordinary vessels. I don't know as much about traditional Chinese medicine. I've only studied this. But a very good acupuncturist can sort of assess where, there might be some blockages of qi or imbalances and give you some treatments. And with this particular system, like I have a friend I'm treating right now who's had a major life change. Her husband got ill. And so I've given her some magnets to treat herself at home. So she's actually home treating every day. She does a practice, a treatment, and I've given her some herbs. And so she's using the herbs and the home treatment. And then I see her every week or two and give her a needle treatment. And yes, it's really rebalancing the energy. I think of it as spiritual chiropractic in a way.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
chiropractic. Well, I often feel that in a treatment. I call it going to Aculand. When you're in the treatment, there's this, especially if you just give yourself the treatment, allow yourself to lay and close your eyes and just be with it. There's often a realignment that you feel, and you get into this zone that I call Aculand, and everything feels like balanced and peaceful and wonderful, So I think it's a great thing. It's supposed to be very good for longevity, and I think it's very beneficial and very good for your health.
How would an acupuncturist assess where the blockages of qi are, and how would they know where to put the needles? Would they just look at you, feel you, touch you? How do they do that?
Well, they would take a history, like what is there anything bothering you? What made you come in today? And it might be that you come in just for a treatment, not for any particular reason. Maybe there is nothing going on for you. I have done that many times. But usually there's something, even a dream, I'm working with this dream, I'm puzzled, because it's non-somatic extraordinary vessels. So we're dealing on all the levels, but anyway, they would take the history from you, and then they would ask some questions that come to mind relating to that branch symptom of a root cause. And then they would do a physical exam specific to acupuncture. There's certain points they would feel, your shoulders, let's say, and touching certain points to see if there's any tension there. They can look at your tongue, take your pulse, and the pulse in Chinese medicine is taken like with three fingers that relate to different aspects of the body. Mm-hmm. And from all of that, they make an assessment. And if they're working in the realm of the extraordinary vessels, there are specific points, anatomy points on your body that are access points to the extraordinary vessels. And then they put the needles in those points. We don't use very many needles in the extraordinary vessels, just 4 really. But we can do extra points if needed. But the extraordinary vessels, you only use 4 needles, which is nice, and that's why it's easy to treat yourself at home with the magnets.
Oh my!
With the magnets, yeah.
Oh, with magnets. Now, is this from the field of grounding or earthing? These magnets, the idea that the earth is magnetic, we are magnetic, and we are attached to the earth, like walking barefoot on the grass, on the soil.
That's a wonderful concept and practice. It's a little bit different than this. The idea being that in these acupuncture points, you can access them through massage. People have put vibration, like tuning forks on them. People have put crystals on them. The acupuncturist put a needle into it. And so these little tiny high Gauss magnets are another way that you can tape onto your skin at the acupuncture point to activate that point.
Sorry to interrupt. Are there 4 acupuncture points, or
for each vessel has a point on either side? Let's say the Ren. So, at the wrist are the 2 points for the Ren. We call that the master point, and then a couple point, which are on the feet. So for the extraordinary vessels, you're pretty much just putting the magnets on your wrists or on your feet. You do bilateral. You always do both right and left at the same time. So you have the master point, right and left, and the couple point, right and left. Sometimes you start at the wrist. Sometimes you start at the feet. It's always wrist and feet.
Wrist and feet. And are these magnets in the marketplace? We can purchase them?
Well, Dan's office, they sell the magnets out of his herbal shop called Orion Herbs, but you would have to be, trained specifically. Typically the magnets are given by the practitioner or prescribed by the practitioner to the patient, in the sense that, you want to have the evaluation So, for example, I gave the magnets to my friend, and but I see her every couple of weeks to figure out what vessel is going on for her. Now, one can learn the vessels on their own. For example, Dan gives a course starting in the spring again for new people that want to just learn about the extraordinary vessels. It's a 5-week course online. And there's many different kinds of people in there, not just acupuncturists. Because, in acupuncture training, they don't learn too much about the extraordinary vessels. So the acupuncturists often take his class because he offers such in-depth knowledge about the extraordinary vessels. But also therapists take the course, massage therapists, chiropractors, people like me, lay people, anybody.
So how would we access, because Dan lives in Southern Florida, and what about people, because this show is by anyone can hear it in the world. So we are live streaming. How would we access this particular kind of acupuncture?
So, probably anywhere in the world. You can try to find a practitioner in your area by going to Dan's site and asking. I'm going to give you the website. Or if someone were really motivated, you could take the course and learn how to treat yourself, and then develop a cultivation practice with these vessels, Dan's and his website is called NSEV, Non-Somatic Extraordinary Vessel. So that's N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, V as in Victor, healing.com. And on there, they have a link to the Academy. If you just scroll down a little bit, it says NSEV Healing Academy. Mm-hmm. And then there's also, if you scroll a little further down, it says find an NSEV practitioner, and they are worldwide. So you can go in there, and they have something about his clinic, etc. So
wonderful. And we have only a minute or so left, Dr. Pamela. Are there any general Chinese herbs that we can just take? I understand that they would be specific to the patient, but is there anything that we can access easily? Good Chinese herb? Yeah.
Yes, I would say that if I were to give one herb that anybody could take, it would be the herb that Dan developed. It's called Emotional Ease.
Oh.
EASE, Emotional Ease. And again, you can, I think at his website, you can find you want to get to the Orion herbs. I hope he has a link there, but the herbal shop is Orion, ORION herbs. ORION, like this constellation, herbs. OrionHerbs.com. Emotional Ease is fantastic. No matter anything that's happening, any upset, any kind of disharmony, you can take some Emotional Ease. You just take some drops, you put it in water, and it really is very calming, but not sleep producing. But it just brings it down, and there's nothing addictive. There's nothing. It's flowers and bark and
wonderful.
It's a fantastic herb, and I have all my friends and family on it.
That's wonderful.
I take it 2-3 times a day. I love it.
2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
So that's the number one, and there are others, but that is the number one that you would recommend.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I would say that's number one, because anybody can take it. You don't need to see a practitioner or be diagnosed. Anybody could take it.
Right. Well, I find is this whole area called energy medicine per se, or no? Or that's
a traditional medicine, I would call it traditional medicine. You have Tibetan, Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine. These come under the headings of traditional medicine.
Oh, because I love Ayurvedic as well.
Yeah. The three most common are the Tibetan, the Ayurvedic, and the Chinese medicine. Oh,
this is such a new field for me. Thank you so much, Dr. Pamela Dickson. I'm so glad that you are studying this, have been studying it. And we have just a couple of minutes, so would you like to leave us with anything in particular to remember?
I think just, the idea of cultivation, just to consider a cultivation practice to tend to yourself, whether it be with some kind of structure, because that helps your yang wei. Structure always helps your yang wei. A cultivation practice, whether it's breathing or going in nature or, reading poetry or some sort of plan for a cultivation practice, because it will grow and develop, and you'll develop the relationship with yourself, with others, with these vessels, with your inner world, the outer world. And the sense of connection to all things grows from that.
Yes. Yeah. What I'm hearing when you put it that way, nature and reading poetry, that it is an official time out. It is just a departure from the regular workaday world saying, this is just for me. I'm going to sit down and read this poem. Or I'm going to breathe, follow my breath for 1 minute. Or I'm going to just take a walk on my backyard, barefoot on the grass if I can. Or, by the way, if you're living in a cold climate, then you make sure you wear natural soles, not synthetic soles, so you have connection, with leather soles, with the animal magnetism. Mm-hmm. So, this has been so fascinating, Dr. Pamela Dickson. I can't thank you enough. And I look forward to interviewing you again. You're always a perennial student. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.
It was a goal that I wanted to achieve from the very beginning. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. I wasn't sure if I could do it. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it.
At age 47, with the help of his teacher, Marco finished his high school diploma.
50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is. It catapults you to where you want to go.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.